Chapter 2: Process Identification. Introduction to process identification. Process identification refers to those management activities that aim to systematically define the set of business processes of an organization and establish clear criteria for selecting specific processes for improvement. Its objectives are to create a structured list of processes and to set the foundation for process analysis, modeling, and improvement. Its outcome: it gives comprehensive process inventory, a structured list or inventory of all identified processes, categorized and prioritized. Clear process architecture: a high-level structure showing how core, support, and management process interact with each other. The figure shows the logic of the balanced scorecard using the strategy map notation of Kaplan and Norton. The explicit representation of the strategy in such a way is also referred to as the business model of company. Long-term shareholder value is assumed as generic overreaching corporate goal in this setting. In the financial perspective, this goal is broken down into four sub-goals of improving the cost structure, increasing asset utilization, expanding revenue opportunities, and enhancing customer value. These financial goals are presumably influenced by factors of the customer service. The concept of customer value proposition posits that the product and service-related attributes of price, quality, availability, selection, and functionality, service and partner relationship, as well as brand image valued by the customer. For instance, a company used to selling books, brand images are valued by customers in shops, and now making them available on Amazon could improve its customer value proposition because it becomes easier to order. The customer perspective is influenced by internal perspective as defined by the process of operations management, customer management, innovation, and regulatory compliance. This means that, for example, offering a cheap book, a product-related proposition should be consistent with the cheap production processes. On the operations management level, the capability of setting up efficient and effective process in the internal perspective is ultimately influenced by human capital, information capital, and organizational capital in learning and growth perspective. The balanced scorecard underlines the importance of business process for implementing the business strategy. Business process build on human information and organization capital and provide the basis for the customer value proposition, which will eventually result in financial success. This means implementing the strategy requires transparency of business processes and the contribution to strategic goals. Process architecture. The aim of a process architecture is to provide a representation of the process that exists in an organization. To define the process architecture, it is a high-level framework showing how all processes within an organization interrelate. The types of process architecture. Core processes. It covers the essential value creation of company, that is the production of goods and services for which customers pay. This include design and development, manufacturing, marketing and sales, delivery after sales and direct procurement, that is sourcing required for the making of products or the delivery of services. Support processes. It enables the execution of these core processes. This include indirect procurement, that is sourcing of hardware, furniture, stationery, etc. Human resource management, information technology management, accounting, financial management, and legal services. Management processes. It provides directions, rules, and practices for the core and support processes. This includes strategic planning, budgeting, compliance and risk management, as well as investors, suppliers, and partners management. The distinction of core, support, and manager process is strategic importance of a company. To understand the diagram, it is a production company and a high-level representation of its processes. We will later call this type of representation a process landscape model. We describe the most abstract view of the process architecture. The example uses three categories for grouping the business process and according to the strategic importance. The core process include the direct procurement of materials, produce products, market products, deliver products, and manage of customer service. These core processes are supported by the process to manage personal information and asset. Management processes are include to the definition of a vision, the development and implementation of the corporate strategy, and the management of risk. Visual representation like this figure are often used in organizations to summarize the major processes in a compact and readable manner. The symbol used for core process is called chevron, and modeling processes as a sequence of sub-processes shown as chevrons is often called value chain modeling. For a better visual distinction, support processes can be shown with upward pointing blocks and management processes with downwards pointing block. Process landscape model. It is defined as a high-level representation that organizes all of organization's processes into a structured hierarchy. Its purpose is to create an overview of all processes, showing how they are grouped, prioritized, and interconnected. This model helps to clarify the organization's functional structure and process relationships. The levels in process landscape are Level 1 organization-wide functions. It is high-level categories such as operations, marketing, sales, finance, and HR. Level 2 its major business processes with functions. The organizational function is broken down into major business processes. Level 3 is sub-process and activities within the major processes. Major business processes are broken down further into many sub-processes, providing more detail on the specific activity. Process classification framework. Frameworks that provide standardized methods for categorizing and structuring business processes within an organization are defined as process classification framework. The purpose is to create a common language and structure for understanding, comparing, and managing processes across various functions and levels within an organization. APQC Process Clarification Framework. It is developed by the American Productivity and Quality Center, that is APQC. The PCF is a comprehensive industry-neutral framework that categorizes process into high-level functions and specific process categories. The structure: Level 1 major functions that are operations, finance, and marketing. In Level 2 specific processes within each function. Example: order management under operations. For Level 3 sub-processes or activities, for example, order entry and order tracking. Process inventory. A process inventory is a comprehensive list of all processes within organization, detailing the relationships, owners, and classifications. The purpose is to provide a structured overview of the organization's process, making it easier to manage, analyze, and improve them. The steps to build a process inventory. Step 1 is to identify core processes. It is to focus on processes that deliver customer value and directly align with organizational objectives. It engages stakeholders to determine which processes are essential for the organization's success. For step 2, gathering existing documentation. That is, collect any existing document related to process. Example process maps, flowcharts, standard operation procedures. Review and consolidate this documentation to identify gaps or overlaps in information. Step 3. Conduct workshops or interviews. Engage employees and stakeholders in workshops or interviews to capture insights about undocumented processes or variations in existing processes. Use techniques like brainstorming sessions to ensure comprehensive input from various departments. Step 4 is to categorize processes. Classify processes into categories to organize the inventory effectively. Step 5 is to create the inventory document. Compile the information into a structured document or database, including fields for process name, description, owner, type, and performance indicators. Ensure that the inventory is easily accessible and updatable. Example of a process inventory templates. The columns in the inventory are process name, process owner, process type, descriptions, inputs, outputs, and performance indicators. Process scoping. Process scoping is the activity of defining the boundaries, objectives, and key stakeholders of a process to establish a clear focus for analysis or improvement efforts. It is to ensure that process improvement initiatives are well defined, manageable, and aligned with organizational goals. The scoping tools are Cyborg diagram. It helps to capture the essential items of the processes. For better understanding, visualize the supplier's input process output customer diagram below. Process stakeholder analysis. It is a systematic assessment of stakeholder roles and needs and impact on the processes. It is to identify and categorize the stakeholders, assess their influence and interest. The tools used for the process stakeholder analysis is power interest grid. It classifies stakeholders based on their power and interest. The figure explains the different approach we should have for the segregate prioritize stakeholders. The high power, high interest, these are the stakeholders that are decision makers and have the biggest impact on the project success, and hence you must closely manage their expectations. High power, low interest. These are the stakeholders needed to be kept in loop. These stakeholders need to be kept satisfied even though they aren't interested because they yield power. These type of stakeholders should be dealt with cautiously as well since they may use their power in not a desired way in the project if they become unsatisfied. Low power, high interest. Keep these people adequately informed and talk to them to ensure that no major issues are arising. These people can often be very helpful with the detail on your project. Low power, low interest. Monitor those people, but do not bore them with excessive communication. Common challenges and overcome in process identification. Challenges, scope creep, expanding scope beyond the original intent, lack of stakeholder buy-in, resistance from the key stakeholders, limited resource availability, insufficient time, budget, or skills. Data limitations, difficulty in gathering or analyzing relevant data. To overcome, set clear scope, document and communicate process boundaries. Engage stakeholder early, include key stakeholders from the start. Prioritize resources, focus on high impact areas with available resources. Use incremental improvements, address process gap in stages. Case example of process identification. Scenario: patient's admissions in a hospital. Process architecture falls within the patient care services linked with the outpatient and emergency services. Core processes: patient's initial checkup to the admission on the room. Stakeholders: doctor, nurses, lab practitioners, patient, insurance providers, etc. Goal: reduce patient's wait time during admission by 35%. Performance indicators: admission cycle time, time taken from the arrival to time taken for room allotment. Error rate in documentation: percentage of admissions with incomplete or incorrect information of the patient. Outcome: reduced patient wait times, improved patient satisfaction, and decreased errors in patient data entry. Summary: process identification is the core step in business process management. It involves recognizing and documenting key business processes that contribute to an organization's goals. The objective is to create a structured view of processes to prioritize and focus improvement efforts effectively. Process identification allows organizations to understand the core and supporting processes, align process outcomes with strategic goals, and establish a baseline for continuous improvement. Key points: purpose of process identification, overview of process architecture, process landscape model, process scoping, process classification framework, process inventory, process stakeholder analysis. Thank you.